Pollyanna, Chapter 19, which is somewhat surprising. Pollyanna entered school in September. Preliminary examination showed that she was well advanced for a girl of her years, and she was soon a happy member of her class of girls and boys her own age. School in some ways was a surprise to Pollyanna, and Pollyanna certainly in many ways was very much of a surprise to school. They were soon of best term. However, her aunt Pollyanna confessed that was going to school was living. After all, though she had her doubt before. In spite of her delight in her new work, Pollyanna did not forget her old friends. True, she could not give them quite so much time now, of course, but she gave them what time she could. Perhaps John Pendleton of them all, however, was most assistified. One Saturday afternoon, he spoke to her about it. "See here, Pollyanna, how would you like to come and live with me?" he asked, a little impatiently. "I don't see anything of you nowadays." Pollyanna laughed. "Mr. Pendleton was such a funny man. I thought you didn't like to have folks around," she said. He made a wry face. "Oh, but that was before you taught me to play that wonderful game of yours. Now I'm glad to be waited on hand and foot. Never mind, I'll be on my 2 foot yet one of these days. Then I'll see who step round," he finished, picking one of the crutch at his side and shaking it playfully at a little girl. They were sitting in a great library today. "Oh, but you aren't really glad at all for the thing you just say you are," pouted Pollyanna, her eyes on the dog, dozing before the fire. "You know you don't play the game right ever, Mr. Pendleton. You know you don't." The man's face grew suddenly very grave. "That's why I want you, little girl, to come to help me play it. Will you come?" Pollyanna turned in surprise. "Mr. Pendleton, you don't really mean that." "But I do. I want you. Will you come?" Pollyanna looked distressed. "Why, Mr. Pendleton, I can't, I can't. Why, I'm Aunt Polly's." A quick something crossed the man's face that Pollyanna could quite understand. His head came up almost fiercely. "You're no more hers, then. Perhaps she would let you come to me," he finished more gently. "Would you come if she did?" Pollyanna frowned in deep thought. "But Aunt Polly had been so good to me," she began slowly, "and she took me when I didn't have anybody left but ladies' aids." And again, for the space of something crossed the man's face. But this time, when he spoke, his voice was very low and very sad. "Pollyanna, long years ago, I loved somebody very much. I hope to bring her some day to this house. I picture how happy we would be together in the home all the long years to come." "Yes," pitied Pollyanna, her eyes shining with sympathy. "But, well, I didn't bring her here. Never mind why. I just didn't, that's all. And ever since then, this great gray pile of stone had been a house, never a home. It takes a woman's hands and a heart, or a child presents, to make a home, Pollyanna. And I have not had either. Will you come, my dear?" Pollyanna sprang to her feet. Her face was very illuminated. "Mr. Pendleton, you mean that you wish you had that woman hand and heart all this time?" "Why, yes, Pollyanna." "Oh, I'm so glad. Then it's all right," sighed the little girl. "Now you can take us both, and everything will be lovely." "Take you both?" repeated the man dazedly. A faint doubt crossed Pollyanna's conscience. "Well, of course Aunt Polly isn't won over yet, but I'm sure she'll be if you'll tell her to her, just as you did to me, and then we'll both come, of course." A look of actual terror leaped to the man's eyes. "Aunt Polly come here?" Pollyanna's eyes widened a little. "Would you rather go there?" she asked. "But of course the house isn't quite so pretty, but it's nearer." "Pollyanna, what are you talking about?" asked the man very gently now. "Why, about where we're going to live, of course," rejoined Pollyanna, in obvious surprise. "I thought you meant here, and at first you said it was here that you wanted Pollyanna, Aunt Polly hands and heart all these years to make home." An articulate cry came from the man's throat. He raised his hand and began to speak. The next moment he dropped his hand nervously at his side. "The doctor, sir," and the maid in the doorway. Pollyanna rose at once. John Pendleton turned affirmatively. "Pollyanna, for heaven's sake, say nothing of what I ask you yet," he begged in a low voice. Pollyanna dimpled in a sunny smile. "Of course not. Just as if I didn't know you would rather tell her yourself," she called back merely over her shoulder. John Pendleton moved limply back in his chair. "Why, what's up?" demanded the doctor a minute later, his finger on his patient galloping pulse. "Oh, I'm smile trembled on John Pendleton's lips. Overdose of your tonic, I guess, he laughed as he noted the doctor's eyes following Pollyanna's little figure down the driveway. Chapter 20, which is more surprising. Sunday morning, Pollyanna usually attended church and Sunday school. Sunday afternoon, she frequently went on a walk with Nancy. She had planned one for the day after a Saturday afternoon visit to Mr. John Pendleton, but on the way home from Sunday school, Dr. Chilton overtook her in his gig and brought his horse to a stop. "Suppose you let me drive you home, Pollyanna," he suggested. "I want to speak to you a minute. I was just driving out to your place to tell you," he went on, as Pollyanna settled herself at his side. "Mr. Pendleton sent a special request for you to go to see him this afternoon, sure. He said it's very important." Pollyanna nodded happily. "Yes, it is. I know. I'll go." The doctor eyed her with some surprise. "I'm not sure I shall let you, after all," he declared, his eyes twinkling. "You seem more upsetting than soothing yesterday, young lady." Pollyanna laughed. "Oh, it wasn't me, truly. Not really. You know, not as much as it was Aunt Polly." The doctor turned with a quick start. "Your aunt?" he ejaculated. Pollyanna gave a happy little bound in her seat. "Yes, it's so exciting and lovely, just like a story, you know. I'm going to tell you," she burst out with a sudden decision. "He said not to mention it, but he wouldn't mind your knowing, of course. He meant not to mention it to her." "Her?" "Yes, Aunt Polly, and of course he would want to her himself instead of having me do it lovers so." "Lovers?" As the doctor said the word, the horse stirred violently as if the hand that held the reins had given them a sharp jerk. "Yes," nodded Pollyanna happily. "That's the story part, you see. I didn't know it till Nancy told me. She said Aunt Polly had a lover years ago, and they quarreled. She didn't know who it was at first, but we've found out now. It's Mr. Pendleton, you know." The doctor relaxed suddenly. The hand holding the rein fell limply to his lap. "Oh, no, I didn't know," he said quietly. Pollyanna hurried on. They were nearing the Harrington homestead. "Yes, and I'm so glad now. It's come so lovely. Mr. Pendleton asked me to come and live with him, but of course I wouldn't leave Aunt Polly like that after she'd been so good to me. Then he told me all about the woman hand and heart that he used to want, and I found out that he wanted now, and I was so glad, for of course, if you want to make up the quarrel, everything will be all right now. And Aunt Polly and I will both go to live there, or else he'll come to live with us, of course. Aunt Polly doesn't know yet, and we haven't got everything settled, so I suppose that is why he wanted to see me this afternoon, sure." The doctor sat suddenly erect. There were the odd smile on his lip. "Yes, I can well imagine that Mr. John Pendleton does want to see you, Miss Pollyanna." He nodded as he pulled his horse on the stop before the door. "There's Aunt Polly out the window," cried Pollyanna then a second later. "Why, no, she isn't, but I thought I saw her." "No, she isn't there now," said the doctor. Her lips suddenly lost their smile. Pollyanna found a very nervous John Pendleton waiting for her that afternoon. "Pollyanna," he began at once, "I've been trying all night to puzzle out what you meant by all that yesterday about my wanting your Aunt Polly hand and heart all those years. And what do you mean?" "Why, because you were lovers, and you know once, and I was so glad you still felt that way now." "Lovers? Your Aunt Polly and I?" By the obvious surprise in the man's voice, Pollyanna opened wide her eyes. "Why, Mr. Pendleton, Nancy said you were." The man gave a short little laugh. "Indeed, well, I'm afraid I shall have to say that Nancy didn't know." "Then you weren't lovers?" Pollyanna's voice was tragic with dismay. "Never. And it isn't all coming out like a book." There was no answer. The man's eyes were mortally fixed out the window. "Oh dear, it was all going so splendidly," almost sobbed Pollyanna. "I would have been so glad to come with Aunt Polly." "And you won't now?" The man asked the question without turning his head. "Of course not. I'm Aunt Polly." The man turned now, almost fiercely. "Before you were hers, Pollyanna, you were your mother's, and it was your mother hand and heart that I wanted long ago." "My mother's?" "Yes, I had not meant to tell you, but perhaps it's better, after all, that I do now. John Pendleton." His face had grown very white. He was speaking with evident difficulty. Pollyanna, her eyes wide and frightened, and her lips parted, was gazing at him fixedly. "I love your mother, but she didn't love me, and after a time she went away with your father. I did not know until then how much I did care." The whole world suddenly seemed to turn black under my finger. But never mind. For long years I have been a cross, crab, unlovable old man, though I'm nearly 60 yet. Pollyanna, that one day, little one of your prints that you love so well, little girl, you dance into my life. And Freckle, my dearly old world of dashes of purples and gold and scarlet of your own bright cheeriness, and I found out after a time who you were, and I thought that I never wanted to see you again. I didn't want a reminder of your mother. But you know how that I came out. I just had to have you come. And now I want you always. Pollyanna, won't you come now? But Mr. Pendleton, there's Aunt Polly. Pollyanna's eyes were blurred with tears. The man with an impatient made an impatient gesture. What about me? How do you suppose I'm going to be glad about anything without you? Why, Pollyanna, it's only since you came that I've been ever half glad to live. But if I had you for my own little girl, I'll be glad for anything, and I'll try to make you glad too. My dear, you should have a wish ungratified. All of my money, to the last cent, should go to make you happy. Pollyanna looked shocked. Why, Mr. Pendleton, as if I'll let you spend it on me, all that money you saved for heaven? A dull red came to the man's face. He started to speak, but Pollyanna was still talking. Beside, anybody with such a lot of money as you have doesn't need me to make you glad about things. You're making other folks so glad I'm giving them things that you just can't help being glad yourself. Why, look at those prints you gave Mrs. Snow and me, and the gold piece of you gave Nancy on her birthday, and yes, never mind about all that, interrupted the man. His face was very, very red now, and no wonder perhaps it was not forgiving things that John Pendleton had best known in the past. That's all nonsense. It wasn't much anyhow, but what there was because of you. You gave those things, not I. Yes, you did, he repeated in answer to the shocked denial in her faces. And that only goes to prove all the more how I need you, little girl, he added, his voice softening into tender pleading once more. If I ever I am to play the game, glad game, Pollyanna, you'll have to come and play it with me. The little girl's forehead puckered in a wistful frown. Aunt Polly had been so good to me, she began, but the old man interrupted her sharply, though inwardly had came back to his face, impatient, which would brook no opposition had been part of John Pendleton's nature, was long to yield very easily to the restraint. Of course she's been good to you, but she doesn't want you, I'll warrant, half so much as I do, he constant. Why, Mr. Pendleton, she's glad, I know, to have... Glad, interrupted the man, worthily, losing his patience now. I'll warrant Miss Polly doesn't know how to be glad for anything. Oh, she does her duty, I know. She's a very dutiful woman. I've experimented with her duty before. I'll acknowledge we haven't been the best of friends for the last 15 or 20 years, but I know her. Everyone knows her, and she isn't the glad kind, Pollyanna. She doesn't know how to be. As for your coming to me, you just ask her and see if she won't let you come. And oh, little girl, I want you so, he finished brokenly. Pollyanna rose to her feet with her long sigh. All right, I'll ask her, she said wistfully. Of course I don't mean it. I wouldn't like to live here with you, Mr. Pendleton, but... She did not complete her sentences. There was a moment's silence. She had, well, anyhow, I'm glad I didn't tell her yesterday, 'cause then I suppose she was wanted too. John Pendleton smiled grimly. Well, yes, Pollyanna, I guess it is, just as well you didn't mention it yesterday. I did only to the doctor, and of course he doesn't count. The doctor? Cried John Pendleton, turning quickly. Not Dr. Chilton. Yes, when he came to tell you you wanted to see me today, you know. Well, of all that, muttered the man, falling back to his chair. And he sat up with sudden interest. And what did Dr. Chilton say? He asked. Pollyanna frowned thoughtfully. Why, I don't remember. Not much, I reckon. He did say he could well imagine you did want to see me. Oh, did he? Indeed, answered John Pendleton. And Pollyanna wondered why he gave that sudden queer little laugh.